and join us. And I'm super excited to have with us Mr. Lawrence Gillespie, who is a Brigadier General retired in the U.S. Army, and he is going to be sharing on military ROTC scholarship opportunities. General Gillespie is a senior executive who has over 60 years of reflective, progressive leadership experience in aerospace and the security industries. He's earned a Bachelor's of Science degree from the State University of New York and a MPA from Shippensburg University. He graduated from Harvard University's National and International Security course at the John F. Kennedy School of Government and from the prestigious Army War College. General Gillespie has extensive experience in both military and commercial aviation. Yes, he was a pilot. He was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Soldier's Medal, and 43 awards of the Air Medal. General Gillespie also serves as the chairman of the ROTC Inc. organization. The ROTC is a military-oriented organization that primarily focuses on the improvement of the Army Officer Corps. During the previous last 5 years, the ROTC, in conjunction with the Army Cadet Command, has provided numerous ROTC scholarships. And so with that lens today, I will turn it over to Mr. Gillespie for his great Army leadership insight into ROTC opportunities for young adults. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Murray, it's really a pleasure for me to be here this morning. I was listening to your previous session and looking at all these young faces, and it reminded me of many years ago when I was sitting in their place. And the opportunities that these youngsters have today are much above what we had what I had when we were coming along. The first thing I want you all to do is really copy down the email that you see here, Colonel Michael G. McClendon. He was the professor of military science at the Citadel, which is the largest ROTC command in the Army. And he is my vice president for ROTC programs for the ROTC. And you've heard a brief description of what the ROTC are all about. And we do provide scholarships in conjunction with the Army Cadet Command. In fact, over the last 3 years, we've averaged somewhere in conjunction with the Army Cadet Command, somewhere in the neighborhood of $7 million a year in scholarships. So that's pretty good. And the thing I want to do primarily with you all is go over the sequence of events that's needed in regards to qualifying for Army ROTC scholarship. Now, the one thing I want to do is most of you don't know anything about the Army right now. So I want to go into that initially and just give you a brief overview of what the Army is about. I have spent 37 years wearing the Army uniform, and I can tell you from personal experience that my life would have been totally different if I hadn't joined the Army when I was 19 years old and a sophomore at Central State University. From that beginning, I have been able to do a lot of things and see a lot of places and really gather or gain a lot of information about the world. Bonjour, buenos dias, guten tag. I've been to all those countries. I've been to Africa, been to the Middle East, been to the Far East. Okay, visited all those countries. I've dealt with leaders of countries and been involved in the commercial world as far as aviation is concerned, but got all the education that I needed As you indicated, I've got a master's degree in public administration from Shippensburg. I went to Harvard, but one thing that was left out, I also went to school in France. So the thing that I'm looking at primarily is the Army has provided that for me. Yes, I'm an aviator. I was able to fly for 30 years. I have almost 5,000 hours of flight time. And one of the things that I've done, I was a personal pilot to a head of a country for 4 years in South America. So the thing that I look at primarily is I want to offer you the opportunity and the information here, if you choose to look at this, to possibly gain a Army ROTC scholarship. Can I have slide 3, please? I already talked about the face of the Army, and we're looking for bright young students like yourself in regards to being able to come into the Army. We need new blood to come into the Army every year. Okay, and so the thing that I wanted to impress upon you all, we have every job description, every position in the Army that you would see in civilian life. We have it in the Army. A lot of people look at the Army and they look at Afghanistan and Iraq and say, oh man, I don't want to do that. But we also have doctors, we have lawyers, we have nurses, we have specialists, we have people who are in IT. The one thing that the Army does, they move you along. And the other thing that I want to present to you is, come in the Army as a private. You come in as a lieutenant after you finish the ROTC program. Okay, and so the thing I want to impress upon you all is this is an opportunity for you. And as we go through this presentation, you'll see the financial benefits going into the Army ROTC program. Number 4, please. Okay, here it is, a scholarship selection process. Okay, and we're very careful about this process. As you can see on the slide here, the application began and it opened up on 12 June. I will give you the link later on that you can go into it. You can see here, you've got to have at least a 2.5 grade point average on a 4-point scale. And you've got to have a 19 on the ACT or 1,000 on the SAT. And you will be a freshman entering college. I'm reading this to you so that you understand it. You can hear me. And the other thing is too, is I will entertain questions after I finish this presentation. Okay, this is the PMS, the Professor of Military Science, and all of you should be close to a school that has a Army ROTC. The Professor of Military Science will review your file and your school entrance eligibility. Now that depends again on the school that you select. Now you'll have 4 schools that you can select in this process, and out of those 4, the Army will say you can go to these 3. Okay, and the HQCC stands for Headquarters Cadet Command. They conduct 3 scholarship boards, October, January, and March. So you have time right now, if you're so inclined, on the information I'm going to give you later, to go onto the website and fill out an application. And again, I gave you the colonel's email. So if there's any questions, you can send them to me, and copy this down. This is my email, Warhawks, WARHAWKS @AOL.com. And Headquarters Cadet Command will mail the letter to the scholarship winners with the selected school choices. Again, you can read this yourself, but prospects receive an offer letter and accept scholarships offer to normally up to 1 of the 3 school choices within 30 days. Next slide, please, number 5. Now look at the benefits that you get here. Benefits are determined by law. full tuition fees, room and board. Go for the full tuition fees. The books, you get $1,200 per year, $600 per semester. The stipend, $420 a month once contracted. $420 per month once contracted. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was going through school, I'd have been a millionaire to get $420 a month to go to school. And that's a significant amount of money. The other thing in here, the note that you have here is that the school also can provide benefits, but that's a separate issue away from the ROTC scholarship. And as I said, the last bullet here, the U.S. Army Cadet Command cannot by law provide or reimburse the school provided benefits. Number 6, please. Next slide, please. Okay, now here's the flow chart in regards to what you have to do. And like I said, I will give you the link later in my presentation. You sign up for the account and initiate an application. Okay, self report the GPA and the SAT scores and your activities. Now I'll get into that later on also about your activities. Identify, you see in 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember I said earlier in regards to the number of schools that you can ask that you can identify that you'd like to go to, but they'll get 3 out of the 4 that the Army will come back and say that you can apply to. Now the other one, take the CPEF, that's a cadet base experience factor. And the other one is the physical fitness assessment. Now that is very important. The CPEF will come about when you talk to the PMS. Okay, but again, the link that I'm going to give you will take you through the process, and the physical fitness test. You have to really understand that this is the United States Army. And physical fitness is one of the primary things that they look at in regards to qualifying you for a scholarship. So as young as you are right now, you should be in good shape. Okay, then you got to upload and verify the documents. Okay, that's self-explanatory. And then the PMS, which is the Professor of Military Science, they'll do the interview, and that normally should be done at the school that you select to go to. Out of those four schools I talked about, the Army will select 3, and each one of those schools should have an ROTC. They have to have an ROTC program to be in the scholarship program. Okay, and then you look down here at the board, the headquarters, U.S. Army Cadet Command. That, as I explained to you earlier, the boards are in October, January, and March. Okay, after that, they look at the next caricature. That's the board, and don't worry about that because you have no control over that whatsoever. Again, going back at the colleges, they'll give you 3 colleges that you could go to. Again, looking at the chart down here at the bottom, October, January, March are the board selections. Next slide, please. Number 9. Okay, here again is a restatement of what I said before. You look at and don't pay any attention to the bottom, just look at the top. Board 1 is between 18 and 22 October, and that's at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Board 2 is 24th to 28th January. Board 3 is the 14th through the 18th of March. And if you look down there, it says the application deadline is 4 February for that March board, and the documents that you have to be in the 4th March also. All right. Next slide, please. It'd be number 12. Go to the next, please. Okay, here are the types of scholarships that are available through the Army. 74. That's different career fields, but Don't worry about that. We can address that later. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, National Board offers 4-year and 3-year scholarships. You are looking at a 4-year scholarship. Okay, that's what you want to take, is the 4-year scholarship, because the scholarship will cover you from your freshman to your senior year and when you graduate. And when you graduate, you'll get commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army. Now, the other thing that I was saying to you, if you wanted to be a nurse or a doctor like that, there are advanced schools that you can apply for after your commission to go into. Like if you want to go into the medicine, you can go into the medical service corps, you can become a doctor, you can become a nurse. If you want to go into legal, you can go into the JAG Corps, which is a Judge let me see, the JAG is the Judge Activity Corps, and you can, Adjutant Corps, I'm sorry, and you can go into that. But there are many things you can go into. IT is a big thing right now, big thing in the Army. If you want to go into information technology, AI, those sorts of things, the Army has schools for that. And you'll have to go to a school after your commission. Everybody does that. So the thing that I'm looking at primarily is expand your thought process in regards to what you want to do, and determine if the Army can satisfy that requirement. Next slide, please. Okay, now again, this doesn't fit into you, but I will talk about it anyway. For benefits to start, you got to be enrolled in ROTC classes during the entire year. Now they're talking about a 3-year scholarship, and again, if once you get into school and you say, well, you know, I really haven't made up my mind whether I want to go in the ROTC program. If you go into the ROTC program the first year with no obligation and no scholarship, you can apply once you're in school for the 3-year scholarship, but you must be in the ROTC program to be able to qualify for that. And again, it spells it out right here. You have to have a 2.5 or higher academic GPA and a 3.0 in the ROTC GPA. But you can do that. You can do that. And you got to be medically and administratively qualified, and you've got to pass the PT test. Oh, and the question, Dr. Christie posed a question to me in regards to, do HBCUs have ROTC program? Most HBCUs that I know of right now, and just here in the Washington, D.C. area, Howard University has one. Hampton University has one. Morgan has one. Bowie has one. So there are adequate ROTC departments in the HBCUs. Next slide, please. Okay, here's the link that I was talking about. It's right there at the top of the screen. http:// You can read that yourself. That's the one you want to copy down. Okay, that's the one you want to copy down, because that gets you into there. Next slide, please. Okay, this is nothing more than what you will see once you go into that link. Okay, and right now you say click here, apply now. That means you're going to apply, and that means that the Army knows that you're interested in coming into the ROTC program. Next slide. Here again, one time user clicks here to create GoArmy.com account. That's part of the process and things that you'll see once you get into the program. Once you decide that you want to go in and try to get an ROTC scholarship. Next slide, please. Okay. And even the Army is providing here, it says down here, for questions or problems, contact us at the above email address. So you can correspond with Cadet Command to answer the questions that you might have on your application. That's what that means. Next slide. Go down to, I'm sorry, go down to 21.
You have to tell me when I get there. I don't see the slide
Okay,
numbers.
just keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. There you go. Right there, that's very important. Selection board evaluation factors. Now, this is something that I wanted to go over with you. Look at the top, and it says military potential, athletic participation. Those schools that you attend that have a junior ROTC program, physical fitness. I've said that numerous times in this presentation. You've got to be physically fit. Program motivation, officer evaluation, and we've talked about that. Personal factors, leadership participation, non-school activities, character, exceptional achievement, and technical interest. Okay, those are evaluation points that they'll look at. What are you doing outside of school? Are you interested, or are you involved in organizations that are doing these things? Leadership, non-school activities, character, exceptional achievement. Are you doing that? Are you involved in it? Scholarship, math and science. And remember, I said we're talking about IT and how the Army is involved in going into a deep science in regards to information technology, intellectual motivation, and personal statement. Okay, look at the percentages there on the graph, and you can see what they look at as far as the total evaluation of the individual who's applying for a scholarship. Next slide, please. Okay, there it is. It gives a scholarship program winners, and this is for 2024. If you look over at 2024, you'll see where it is, top of the class, the percentages that were picked from the top 5% of the class, and you can read that. You don't need me to run you down there. National Honor Society, you see that 61%, varsity letter winners, club presidents, junior ROTC. It shows you what they're looking for as far as potential candidates for ROTC scholarships. And look down at the bottom, and their average grade point is 3.7. Now, all of you don't have to be at 3.7. I think I said it was 2.9 is the minimum that they'll accept. Next slide, please. Okay, how can you help? Be familiar with the process. Once you go into your app, the link that I gave to you, then you can submit your application, know the timelines, and I've given you the timelines. And when you apply and go into that and use that link, you'll get the timelines. And again, early submission. If you're really thinking about becoming an Army officer or getting an ROTC scholarship, and I gave you the figures that you'll get as far as your total scholarship is concerned. They'll pay for your total scholarship, but if they do pay for the total scholarship, your room and board will have to come from the school. And the ROTC, the organization that I'm chairman of, we work with especially the HBCUs to help the students who are in the ROTC program with their room and board. We do that. Interview preparation, practice the interview. Don't worry about the uniform because you won't have one. Encourage diversity activities other than JR in and out of school. And we've talked about that. Scholar, athlete, leader, and your grade point average. Next slide, please. Don't worry about that. Now, we do have our Army National Guard and Army Reserve scholarships, and we do have a program as green to gold, but that doesn't concern you at your stage. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, there it is right there. Army ROTC. And Dr. Murray, I don't know if you could make a copy of that and send it to all the participants in this, because that would help them tremendously in regards to identifying the boards and when they meet, etc. And it also gives them a caution, the package being completed, SATs and ACTs. It really outlines the requirements. And then the other thing, I've given them the link that they can go in, and you have that, Dr. Christie. So if they ask you for that, you can provide it. Next slide, please. There again is Colonel McClendon's email. Again, and even his telephone number. In fact, I talked to him yesterday, and he said that if you all have a and Dr. Murray said the slides will be available on her website. And Dr. Murray, that completes my briefing. If there's any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them.
Absolutely. I'm going to stop sharing just for a few minutes so I can see faces. But that was outstanding. And I'm sure there are questions. Cassandra, could you do me the honors of going back through the chat to see what questions came out? And if there are any brave souls who would like to come off of mute and ask General Gillespie his questions or your questions now, feel free to do so. Very informative.
There was one question from Bethany Tolley. She asked, how do ROTC students balance training with their school and schoolwork?
Oh, it's part of your schoolwork. That's a good question too. That's part of your schoolwork, and it fits right into what you're doing, becomes part of your campus activity, it's not something that's above and beyond what you would normally have at college. I took ROTC, and I was at an HBCU many years ago. They probably tore down the buildings, but the thing that I look at primarily is that it does not interfere with your schoolwork. That's not the purpose of this scholarship or the ROTC program. The purpose of the ROTC program is to get students such as yourself into the ROTC program and to provide officers for the officer corps. And it very much needed right now because of just the time and the environment that we're in right now. We need people such as yourself to consider as a career. But now the other thing is too, you just opened up another door for me. The requirement after you graduate from school is only 4 years. Okay, so what I'm looking at here is you served 4 years, and when I went in, like I said, it's ancient history, but when I went in as a lieutenant, and I went through the OCS program, not the ROTC. But I had a certain time that I had to serve. But I loved the Army so much and what I was doing that I stayed for 37 years. Yeah, and by the way, for you all that are looking at this, I flew gunships in Vietnam for 2 years. Any further questions?
Yes, I think there are more in the chat.
Kenneth Coleman asked, if you receive the ROTC scholarship, how long, oh, well, you answered that one. How long do you have to work for the Army? So that's 4 years. Zanice asked, will the ASVAB be required for any scholarships?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The ASVAB?
No, they didn't ask for the ASVAB. They didn't ask for it. No, like I said, you've got the link. Okay, you've got the link. And so go into that, and the things that I couldn't answer or didn't cover, it's in there. And you remember I covered that if you have a question, there's a section in there that you can hit, and you can ask the Army directly the questions that you have about the scholarship and your application. Next.
Anaya asked, being a part of the ROTC programs, will we be eligible for the Minuteman Scholarship or will we have to enlist?
No, you've already, if you're in the ROTC program, you had a scholarship, you don't need the Minuteman Scholarship. You've already got one. And I laid that out for you in regards to how much money it covers your scholarship. Plus you get what, $420 a month, a stipend? There's no stipulation on that, on how you spend that. That's your money. Okay.
Someone asked, Madison asked, are there any scholarships available for graduate students?
Graduate students? No.
Yes.
No, it's not. It's not a program for, you've already got your degree now, but you can join the Army. You can certainly do that. You can join the Army. Yeah. Yeah.
You can join as a commissioned officer or enlisted.
Oh, you can apply for a direct commission, and you can apply to go into, you can go through the OCS program. It's officer candidate program. In fact, you have to have a degree to go through the officer candidate program, and it's at it used to be Fort Benning. It's Fort Moore right now. It's down in Georgia, and it's a school that I graduated from. And that's the other thing too, that maybe I didn't emphasize enough, but I will tell you that the Army, in my 37 years, sent me to every school that I wanted to go to, and even sent me to Harvard, like Dr. Murray indicated. So the thing about, and the one thing about it is you meet the best people in the world that can help you as you matriculate through life. It really does. It really helps you to do that. I've met, let me see, 3 to 4 presidents personally. And so that's the kind of opportunity that you have, because one, I had a successful career. I went from a private. When I enlisted in the Army, I was a private, and when I retired, I was a general. So the thing that I look at here, the opportunity is there. And again, I flew for over 30 years, and not only military, but I also worked with the airlines at one time. And I've flown aircraft down in Central and South America. And all of it was because I was in the Army. And so if you don't want to make it a career, you can at least make it a stepping stone to what you want to do as far as the rest of your life is concerned. But what you do is you walk out of there, you're trained. You've got something behind you that you can put on paper and say, look what I did. Okay. And so that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Some of you might be going into some difficult situation. The Army is the Army, and you wear that uniform and you take that oath because you're out there to defend the country. I don't want to mislead anybody. Okay, so the thing that I'm looking at here, and I told you all earlier that I had two tours in Vietnam flying gunships, and that wasn't a walk on the beach. Okay, so the thing I'm saying to you is that it's worth it if you want to do it. And I underline if you want to do it. It's very, very rewarding. Next question.
Kenneth Coleman asks, what is the Army Academy I would be attending as an aspiring doctor? Also, how long would it take to become one? And if I become one, how long is the commitment after the academy?
Now,
so that's a question specific to the Army Academy.
All right. When you go into, how many of you are familiar with Walter Reed up here? Raise your hand if you are. How many of you are familiar with Walter Reed Hospital here in Washington? Okay. Right there is the Army has a medical a facility there, a medical school that they send, but you must be commissioned, okay, to go to that school. You don't go right into that school from high school. You don't do that. Okay, you've got to be commissioned to go into that school. That means you go through the ROTC program, the 4 years, and then you apply and you go into Medical Service Corps. And then from the Medical Service Corps, you apply for the school up there. And as to the commitment after you finish medical school, I don't have that information. But again, I think, Dr. Murray, we can find that out and I'll let you know what it is. But they do have a medical school, and the nurses, I'll give you an idea. You know, the people that just were released from Russia, okay, and all of you probably have heard about that. Right now, they're down in San Antonio at an Army facility, sort of getting depressurized, and that's the best way to put it. Okay, but that's the kind of services that we offer. And so I can't give you the specifics on what your requirements would be after you graduate from the medical school, but the medical school that I'm familiar with is up at Walter Reed. Next question.
Don't see any more in the chat.
Okay.
I just want to circle back around and doubly emphasize, we have a wealth of knowledge here with General Gillespie and sharing his insights, and the notion, and I always talk about getting accepted, graduating debt-free, great career opportunities, phenomenal training, opportunity to see the world, but also the ability to graduate, get a quality education, well taken care of with great benefits, and not have to pay a penny out of pocket or take out student loan debts, which is extremely important. And as he talked about, you can do anything for 4 years. Now, whether you want to or not, or more, make a career out of it, but you have some phenomenal options with the Army ROTC program he just talked about.
One other thing, Dr. Murray, that I want to say, I have been just about in every part of the world. Okay. I've been in the Middle East. I've been in the Far East. I've been in Europe. I've been in South America, Central America, you name it. I've been there. I mean, and the thing about it, it wasn't just a vacation. It was an experience, and getting to know people from different categories and different countries and interfacing. I've been to Africa. You know, and it's really something that's based on my experience and being qualified and being in the United States Army. So I'm just saying that's an opportunity. I know that appealed to some people, but it is part of being in the Army and the military and seeing those parts of the world. And if there's no further questions, thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give a virtual round of applause to General Gillespie, and we certainly appreciate your time today and your wisdom and your insights. Very great information shared. I will make sure each one of our invited guests receive copies of your slides and the timelines and the information that you shared with us. So thank you so much.
I saw a couple more hands go up.
Someone just asked, does the Army, a lot of thank yous. And then someone says, does the Army pay in and out of state tuition?
In and out of state, the Army pay for the tuition for the school that you are chosen for.
So that's if you choose the out of state school, then they will cover your tuition still.
That's right. Good
question. Well, thank you so very much for taking time on your Saturday to spend with us.
That's okay. Okay, thank you. Take care.